Hello and welcome to On the Mic, a Zoomcast that spotlights students, services, and staff of Highlands Community Charter and Technical Schools. Highlands offers adults 22 years of age and older the opportunity to earn their high school diploma, learn English as a second language, and learn a skill. My name is Mike Roessler, and today we're joined by Bobby Valentine. Bobby, how are you?
I'm great, Mike. Thank you so much for having me on the show to get to hang out and chat with you.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to this. I'm really looking forward to sharing. I've gotten to know you a little bit by working a little bit on something that you're working on for Highlands, and I want to talk about that here in a little bit. But I really wanted to share. Highlands is up to about 265 employees, and you're obviously you and I are two of those employees, and I wanted to share with the other employees just to maybe get to know Bobby Valentine a little bit more than on a Zoom. Over the last year on a Zoom, they see your face. They don't, maybe they may have heard about what you're doing, but they may not know in depth what you're doing for Highlands right now. And so Bobby, how did you come about coming over to Highlands?
Yeah, it's not a straightforward story. And if my path from years ago to Highlands were a quilt, it'd look pretty weird and have a lot of weird patches on it. So I've been here for 15 months now, and I had first heard about Highlands through a longtime dear friend, Nicole Scroggins. We knew each other in high school when we were trying to figure out what on earth we were ever going to do with our lives. Wow. We'd lost contact for a decade or more, and I was looking for work a couple years ago, and Nicole reached out to me. She thought I may actually be of use to you and the crew at Highlands, and also I may really find it fulfilling. And so that started a week after that. Put my application into the hat and got started here.
Well, listen, Nicole, if Nicole has recommended you and told you to put your application in the hat, that means a lot. And so I think we're certainly glad that she did. And you started off as an English language teacher.
Once upon a time, so maybe a decade ago. I was living out in Turkey and Syria for a little bit, and there is high demand, or there was, and I believe there continues to be high demand for adults to learn English in Turkey. And I was in Istanbul there teaching English and figuring out life there. So that was my first taste of being an English teacher. Now that was after doing some college. I came back to the States and worked for a startup for a little while. Found myself back in grad school to do other things. And it was in part of that story involves getting to teach a variety of subjects to young adults, mostly political sciencey stuff, social science stuff. And I really enjoyed not only the experience, but the multitude of ways that we can help others learn what they want to know.
And I so agree with you, Bobby. When Highlands started in 2014, that was kind of the was to serve the unserved, and in our case, the unserved were people that needed to learn English as a second language to acclimate here better to Sacramento, California, and do some things like put themselves in a better position for employment opportunities, but also to put themselves in a better situation to be a great parent, because now they might be able to understand their son or daughter's doctor, or talk to their son or daughter's teacher at school and understand what is being said. For the high school diploma program, we're certainly trying to speak a language of motivation and encouragement and excitement about the opportunities that lies ahead for our students who come back and earn their high school diploma at 22 or 32 years old or 42 years old. And look no further than one of our 12 graduations that we've had for our high school students that they're really excited about, really kind of checking that to-do list off with earn high school diploma.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? One of the main reasons I've really found myself committed to Highlands is a big part of its mission that I think it does really well. So, Mike, I wouldn't be here today or in anywhere around here without a variety of extra chances that I had along the way. So my upbringing was a little unorthodox. I lost my parents as a young teenager, and no relationship with any aunts or uncles or full-blooded siblings. I barely graduated high school. I shouldn't have. I was out of 600 graduates. I was fourth from the bottom, totally unprepared for life. Had numerous bouts of homelessness. Lived out of a car for a year nearly at one time. Tried community college, 3 or 4 times. Had false starts, flunked out, while working just whatever I could just to make ends meet. And thankfully, once I kind of got my footing, it was thanks to the California community college system that have these kind of mechanisms like academic renewal and a couple other things that gave me a path that wasn't there before in order so I could start life 2.0. And so I see at Highlands with our student populations who have a variety of backgrounds, they come here and we're one of those second or third chances. We're one of those ways where they can become more powerful along the vision that they have in mind. And to me, that is a mission worth serving.
It really is. And when I tell my friends or family about what I do and who I work for, it never fails for me to mention that this is a true feel-good job. And we could drive home after a long day at the office or a long week at the office and just talk about how great it feels that you've made an impact on maybe one person that day, one student, one high school student. In your case, when you started, that English language learner who you might have seen a gleam in their eye that they're getting what you're saying and they're comprehending what you're teaching. And so there is a real feel-good aspect to, I think, everybody that works for Highlands and works with Highlands and works with our students. And I know that you've been here 15 months. You've made a huge impact already on Highlands. Tell me about your high school. Where'd you go to high school at, Bobby?
Hesperia. It's in the high desert. It's a little nowheresville in Southern California. When I try to tell people where it is, I say, if you have a body in the trunk, you need to get rid of it somewhere, and you're out in the middle of nowhere. It'll probably be in Hesperia.
Hey, Bobby, right. I am going to, I warned you about me interrupting. I'm going to interrupt you right there because tell me about Bear Valley Road. Tell me about.
How do you know about this stuff?
I lived in Victorville for 10 years.
What?
I lived in Victorville.
You're my neighbor. Only
yes.
Distance is time.
Oh
not
yeah,
space.
Listen. I mean, I think of Hesperia and I think of In-N-Out Burger right on the freeway, right? Right.
That's the best part.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't grow up there, but I certainly lived there. I got laid off from an environmental engineering firm. I majored in hotel and restaurant management at Cal Poly Pomona, and I decided to go to a job fair or a career fair on the campus of Cal Poly Pomona after I had been laid off from an environmental engineering firm. And so I went to this fair and I met these people from the restaurant chain Hudson's Grill it was up in Victorville. And so I decided they offered me a job, and they said I could go to either, I think, Thousand Oaks or Victorville. And I said, I'm just going to take Victorville because it's
over Thousand Oaks.
Over Thousand Oaks.
We should be interviewing you.
Yes.
This is an interesting chronology.
And so I took the job in Victorville, and I worked in the restaurant business for a while. I went from there to Spring Valley Lake Country Club up in Victorville. I worked as the membership director, then the food and beverage director there. And then I was getting married and I moved away from the restaurant business, still stayed in Victorville and worked for the Small Business Development Center up in Victorville. And so I was the president of the Chamber of Commerce. I worked up there. I worked as the on-field announcer for a single A baseball team up in Adelanto.
The Mavericks.
The High Desert Mavericks. Yeah, I worked for them for a long time.
All right.
I was an elected official for the Victor Valley Water District. I ran and won election. So I know Hesperia, Bobby. I know Hesperia.
Whoa, all right. Well, it's good to meet a kindred.
But your analogy about if you need a place to dump a body is very true. Very true.
Yeah. Or if you want to go find the world's largest thermometer, you can drive it just a few minutes north up to Baker and find it.
Up to Baker, right? Where and Bobby, you know this, on the way to Vegas, that's kind of where you'd stop, right? Either Barstow or Baker.
That's it.
For a pit stop. Hey, Bobby, I love that. Tell us about what you studied in college and what you. And I'm going somewhere with this, but tell us what you studied as your undergraduate, maybe then your graduate.
Happy to. In undergrad, when I finally got there, I studied political science broadly. I was really interested in international politics. There's always something about the political, as I see it, is social experiences where there's a chance there could be a winner and a loser, and how that really changes the dynamic, whether it's between two people, two organizations, or two countries or more, So after that, after a brief stint doing in startups for a little while and also teaching overseas, I came back and went to grad school, and I was fortunate enough to find myself at the University of Chicago. And I was doing an international politics program there. And I finally found my way at the end of that. I got a PhD there in nuclear weapons strategy. Super relevant to
that is exactly where I was going, Bobby. Tell us how you picked that for your PhD.
Oh man, you'll find that there's a number of factors that help you, that guide you to what you're actually going to ultimately do, like a dissertation and PhD on, and only one of those is curiosity. So in theory, what I was really, really fascinated with was how people make very good decisions, the best they can, in environments they don't understand, that are highly ambiguous, but also where the stakes are super high, where making a mistake is a really big deal. And it turns out in international politics, the best instance of that, especially in the 60s and 70s, people were thinking really hard about well, shoot, if we do nuclear strategy wrong, a lot of people are going to pay a price. So that whole universe really fascinated with me. So while I had a kind of personal interest in some other kind of scholarly work, I ultimately got to finish my research there, and hopefully there's something about that that's really kind of transportable to any situation where strategy is important. The environment is, really uncertain, and the stakes are high.
Do you? I guess maybe one question: have you ever had the launch codes?
No, but I'm still working on it.
I'm sure you are, Bobby. Sure you are. Hey, speaking of working on it, Bobby, you've kind of transitioned a little bit right now from being in the classroom and for the last year being on Zoom and teaching English language. Tell us what you're working on now and how you came up with that idea, and where are you at in that process?
Yeah. Well, when I started, the position was for teaching. Pretty straightforward. So if I wanted to have a relationship with Highlands, well, I better get in that classroom and start teaching. And it was a really good time. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the culture of Highlands as an organization. I learned about how different and varied the needs were of the student populations we served. And this was mere months before, I don't know, have you heard about the global pandemic that changed life forever in some ways?
A little bit.
Yeah. So I was doing that. Now my background, I have a background in teaching, but that's not really, I'm kind of wired to do a bunch of other things, and I have my skill sets normally elsewhere. There's some superior teachers here, I guarantee you. So there were two aspects that got me towards wanting to make a project. So in November, and we've talked a little about this before outside of this podcast, Doc, blow the bugle on innovation. Said, look, we're in this phenomenally strange time. What can we do with it? Let's make some silver linings. And so on one hand, we had the Highlands Promise to students to empower them to do more and be more. We had this interesting experience where, like, in order to do that for our populations, we find ourselves being concierges for that success. We have this high touch relationship where we're getting students and devotional staff and a great structure to them that's not really available anywhere else. And then we also had all of these lessons from the pandemic about, my God, we are asking, this period is asking students to do so much. Okay, there's literacy gaps, there's digital literacy gaps, there's all of these technology stacks we're asking them to learn. Wow, okay, and somehow we all made it through. So there's a bunch of lessons from that, and what occurred to me is, we need to make a single online home for all of our students. One place that integrates everything we need for them to do, and one place to give everything that we can give them a value, just a single home where they can get it all. So I've had the fortune of getting to build such a place for them.
And Bobby, so I agree with you in terms of, boy, not only literacy, language literacy, but boy, I think over this pandemic, digital literacy has been a big issue. And I think Highlands has done a pretty good job of addressing it with digital navigators and all of the teachers now becoming, somewhat of a digital navigator to help their students either get onto Zoom and or get into Google Classroom and other technologies being used by teachers. That's huge.
Yeah. Not only was it an imperative at the time, because let's be blunt, there were no other options. We have now created a whole ecosystem for our students, and it's still kind of messy, but now students are finding themselves in the center place where those skill sets are super relevant for the kind of goals they will have after Highlands. So there's a whole kind of virtuous feedback of things here for them that ultimately maybe a couple years from now, in addition to all of the really terrible things and kind of awful experiences that I think a lot of people had to suffer, there are also some opportunities here that we've been able to exploit, and that I think our students are going to be able to use to leverage for their own future. So I guess, we can search for those silver linings where they may be.
And I think, Bobby, what you're doing is definitely a silver lining, not only for our students, but I think even for our staff too. The teachers that are interacting with these students on an everyday basis. What you are building is going to be so beneficial long term. And I agree that, listen, every issue that we've had, negative issue we've had in the country, whether it be the downturn of the Wall Street, housing, there's always been some silver linings, companies that have, been either created during that time or that have strengthened during that time. And I think what Doc did when he, sounded the bugle was, hey, let's try to find some areas that we can help our students and our staff improve on. And so what you're creating is exciting, for one, very exciting, but I think too, it's going to be just so beneficial long-term to our staff. Now, Bobby, do you want to give a little, not necessarily on here, but just verbalize what you're doing with this?
Would love to. This, the product itself, the app, is really, it's not a brainchild of mine. I see myself as merely the conduit. So what I did the first couple weeks that I was really serious about this is I was asking staff. So I was going to counselors, mentors, teachers, paras, operations admin, saying, what kind of problems are you having right now? Like, what's making daily life tough for you to do what you want to do and be for the students? And you know what? They all had answers and really good ones. And it all made a lot of sense. And what was really fascinating was not only were the challenges pretty similar in scope, the nature of them, they're pretty straightforward and similar, but that they all kind of tied together in a way that, there's a couple things we can do, and we can weave a product that gets us really far in making everyone's lives a little bit better. So this is really, staff's product. I'm merely the one who's just trying to make it a reality.
Well, listen, what you're doing is certainly great reality TV then, if you put it that way. And it's really going to be mind-blowing to some staff that have never seen it. And the very first time that you walk through this, the brain, which is what it's called now, the app that I was speaking to Lana yesterday. She's our great graphics person here.
Yeah,
and
amazing.
she was amazed, Bob, that you shared with her kind of the page, and she was kind of just going through there, and she was amazed at how great and how simple that was for her to kind of go through. And so I think that the rest of our 265 employees are going to be just so happy to see how comprehensive this technology is going to be.
Yeah, I hope so. And this is the first flight of stairs. So what's as I hope, and I think we all hope, there's a version 1. The plan is we'll get to launch that version in July, and it's going to solve a lot of problems, but it's not going to solve all of them. And in the process of being up that first flight of stairs, we're all going to get to do a little bit better. Is my hope, but we're also going to learn that great set of lessons for the second flight of stairs. And if we're doing everything right, we will continually optimize around the ways that we can get the stuff that's so valuable among our staff to our students that we serve. And I hope that we get to turn those dials, so how many flights of stairs can we get up?
Well, listen, with you, Bobby, I think this might be, a high rise. And
that's kind of sad.
With you leading the charge. And listen, I mean, you're right, Bobby, you're a kind of a conduit, asking questions, and you're getting answers from our staff, trying to incorporate that into this app that is going to be a tool for everyone. And it's going to be, I think, a very, very helpful tool, not only for our staff, but for our students who, in one fell swoop can see what class they have next. They can look at what's going on at school, calendars, technology. We can incorporate attendance into those. Bobby, you're doing a lot of things with this app.
Yeah, because we need to. The reality is that we have asked students to learn a whole bunch of habits and think really hard about how you go and find your next class, and which technology link you click next to go just to be present somewhere. And by the way, we have this PDF we want you to do for homework. There's 3 or 4 ways you can figure out how to do it. It's stunning, the kind of resilience and ingenuity that both our teachers have and our students have had in their variety of ways to make that work. So if we're going to do this, we've got to make that all integrated and intuitive, right? So we have a number of students that I'd say many students who, they may speak English better than me, but it's not great, right? So if we, if we can make a solution that's intuitive, if the pictures, the hierarchy of elements on, a screen indicate what we're supposed to do next, then our dependency on being able to read every last word can plummet. And maybe that kind of intuition can help them have a much easier time getting them all of the valuable things that they deserve to have.
Yeah, and Bobby, I do think you use the word intuitive and intuition. I think, Bobby, I think you're really being intuitive to really kind of foresee the future here at Highlands, and maybe the need for students and staff to have this kind of this app, this at their disposal. We're working on some things with Doc and others to maybe bring some additional technology to our students, which then this app could live on, right?
Certainly. Yeah, we wanted to. We want to give them less things to click, but more value. So the more we can do that, I think the better off everyone is.
Well, listen, Bobby, you certainly bring value to Highlands. We have certainly, I would certainly like to publicly thank Nicole for being your high school mate and reconnecting after those years and bringing you to Highlands. You are a true asset to Highlands, and it was great to catch up with you, Bobby.
Yeah, thanks so much for the chance to get to talk together. And yeah, I would thank you for the kind words. And I'll be seeing you around the school.
Yeah, if that, or we'll take vacation to Victorville and the High Deck.
Yeah, we'll go to Hudson Grill.
Exactly. Thank you, Bobby.